You talked about the word unlocking the leader. Let's dive into that. And I think it's going to open up or unlock what self-leadership is. I have a belief that people go through life and things happen, traumatic events, situations that you grew up in, and you get locked up. I'll give you a great example. 2020, first we had a baby, then there was COVID, then my mom had a stroke, and then my father passed away. This was all within 6 months. Naturally, I'm going to be locked up. I was depressed. I was down. It was tough for me to just, speak. And you lose the capability to lead or to inspire and motivate the people around you because of what you've gone through in life. And that's what happened to me in 2020. And when you realize that's what happens and that's what you can unlock, then we can dive into self-leadership.
Hi, Yigal. Welcome to the show.
Man, it's Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Welcome to Peak Performance Perspective, where we empower entrepreneurs to master health, wealth, and fulfilling relationships. So let me start by asking, what does peak performance mean to you as an entrepreneur?
So I think it means three things combined. One is waking up in the morning feeling good. Two is seeing my family, knowing that I love them and they love me. And number three is getting to work and being happy about what I'm doing in the world. That's peak performance for me.
How does one cultivate that?
I think it starts with clarity, like really knowing what you want and what you don't want, and a massive amount of gratitude.
When it comes to clarity, that almost comes from within oneself, which kind of leads into what you do, because you emphasize all the time about unlocking the leader within oneself. So what does self-leadership mean to you?
So self-leadership first starts with, it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility that you put on yourself when you start a business, you're in a leadership position, you start a family. It's like an unspoken pact that you have with those who are around you. So self-leadership means that becoming the best that you can be, putting in the maximum effort to be happy, to be healthy, as you say. That's why I love what you talk about, happy, healthy, and successful. That's a promise that you make. It's like an unscripted pact, and it's keeping to that. That's what self-leadership is.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
Right? And somebody's listening to this and they're saying, I have a job. I maintain that job. I put food on the table for my friends and for my family. And millions of Americans are doing that. But there are layers of this self-leadership, right? How do you define it so that it's not something we feel like everybody's a self-leader?
Let's go back to something, if I can, Mark. You talked about the word unlocking the leader. Let's dive into that. And I think it's going to open up or unlock what self-leadership is. I have a belief that people go through life and things happen, traumatic events, situations that you grew up in, and you get locked up. I'll give you a great example. 2020, first we had a baby, then there was COVID, then my mom had a stroke, and then my father passed away. This was all within 6 months. Naturally, I'm going to be locked up. I was depressed. I was down. It was tough for me to just, speak. And you lose the capability to lead or to inspire and motivate the people around you because of what you've gone through in life. And that's what happened to me in 2020. And when you realize that's what happens and that's what you can unlock, then we can dive into self-leadership. Self-leadership is leading you. It's knowing that you can motivate yourself, inspire yourself, and create that peak performance that you talk about, regardless of what's happening in the world and what happens in your life at the moment. So self-leadership is about being able to get up every single day. And I don't like the word fight another fight, right? Get up every single day and inspire yourself to do what needs to get done so that you can be happy, you can provide for your family, and you can live with joy, man. I always say that leadership needs to be done with joy as well. It's not just, let's be serious, and that's what leadership is. So that's what self-leadership is to me, man. You've got to have a good time, self-motivating, and getting out of your mind to be able to have the success that you desire and that you know that you should have.
I'm sorry to hear everything that happened to you in 2022 and your family. If I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's horrible, something similar happened to me, Yigal found a way to get through this. I don't know how to do it. Tell us your story about how you got through that period.
It was a very tough period. Excited to have a baby. COVID hit. We all got locked down. My wife and 3 babies at the house. And it's really funny. I started to run because I had a lot of anxiety. And I went from running 1 mile to 12 miles. After that, my mom had a stroke. My father passed away. And at first, when you're in the hurricane, you're just like, this is never going to go away. This is horrible. And I just remembered that my father would tell me stories when he grew up, my mother, my grandfather. And I said, you know what? It's not that bad. And I had a lot of gratitude in what I did have at the moment. We were healthy. My family was healthy. My wife and kids were healthy. I was actually happy. And this is going to sound horrible. I was happy that my father rested because he had Parkinson's and dementia. And he was a very successful entrepreneur, diagnosed at 59 years old, couldn't wipe his own ass. Hope I can say that by the age of 65. And he always talked about, I'm going to work harder today than so I can enjoy tomorrow. I'm going to work hard today so I can take your mom on trips. And when he passed away, our whole family woke up to, and better late than never, sometimes it's too late. And it's time to kick it into gear and make things happen. And this last weekend, I spoke at a conference where there was a guy named Zion who spoke as well. And he has no legs. And he's an MMA fighter. And he's did a movie and music and all this type of stuff. And I was just like, there's no excuses. Like, I can't, there's no way I'm going to sit here and complain after seeing this human being. So how did I get through it? There was three things, brother. One, clarity. I just kept on asking myself, when I buried my father, I always asked myself, I said, what do I want? Life is too short. What's not working? What do I want? The second thing was, what courageous actions can I take to live the life that I want to live and to be able to lead my family? And then the third part was like, what am I committed to? So I was committed to my health, started running 12 miles 3 times a week, started increasing my relationship with my wife. It was very tough during COVID. Some people got divorced and we improved our marriage. And I was just like, I want to be the best father I can be. And to be honest with you, it's when my business increased the most because I was committed to the success that I wanted.
What was the answer that you found to the first two questions? It was 30, and the second was
Courage.
the conviction. Courage, yes. What were the
Yeah.
answers for those?
So clarity was one, is I wanted to stop being out of shape. I was like, I'm done with it. I need to get into good health. I need to start working out. People are getting sick all around me. COVID, a lot of fear was put into people's mind about being healthy. I was like, done. Started eating healthy, and I would just go run outside and get very, very healthy. That was one part. Two, my friends were having these massive fights with their spouses, just like brawls, because for the first time we were stuck at home and we actually had to know each other again. And I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do that ever again. I want to have a great relationship. And the third thing in clarity was I wanted my business to grow. So I was one of the first people to adopt Zoom, doing things online. I created live events online. I just started innovating my business and shifting it to be able to make more money. So the first one, like I said, was clarity. What do I want? What do I don't want? And the second thing was courage. With all this stuff happening, my mom having a stroke, my mom used to talk a lot. I'm from the Middle East, and our mom talk a lot, and they get in your business and they give their opinion on everything, right? You're laughing back there. You know what I'm talking about. And then all of a sudden, she couldn't speak anymore. From one day to the next, the stroke caused her to not, she has aphasia, so she can't speak. And so I was like, I need to open my mouth. I need to say what I want, to say what I don't want. Enough fearing what people think about me and enough worrying what people care. And just, man, I just want to tell you how I feel. If you feel bad, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. And so I was taught so many lessons in that year that really made a massive impact in my life.
Yeah, and I'm so sad to hear about your mom because I know exactly what you mean. I'm from India. And that's how our moms are. And when all the moms get together, we say it's the fastest news network there is. No matter what channel it's getting, one news the fastest way it goes. I always say this thing: suffering teaches us wisdom or gives us
Yeah.
wisdom that books just don't. And it's in that 1 year just completely transformed your vision for what you wanted your life to be and what you needed to do. For so many entrepreneurs, the obstacle is almost always in our head. Technically, we know what we need to do,
Mhm.
right? But it's just emotionally we are unable, which almost transfers to some type of a limiting belief. So when you're working with leaders, how do you help them identify and then overcome some of their limiting beliefs?
So I always start asking question, what's limiting you from hitting the goals that you want? And 99.9% of the time, entrepreneurs will say, I don't know. And so my answer is that I don't know is a cop out. I said, take a moment, think into your heart. What's really stopping you? What's going on that if you could do what you wanted to do and move forward, you can get it done? And little by little, the conversation starts to happen. I'll give you a great example. At this conference I spoke at, a guy came up to me, we sat down. He said, no, I can't get to this level. I can't have my team see the vision that I want to have. I said, what's stopping you? And he said, I don't know. I said, no. I said, let's work on that. I said, just take a moment, take a breath, listen to your heart. What's stopping you? Within 7 minutes, he said two things. He said, I don't trust my team and I don't trust myself. So we have the answer inside. Even that limiting belief answer of what's stopping us, we know what it is inside, but we are deathly afraid of admitting it to ourselves and other people. So we'll say, I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure, hopefully, someday. But we know exactly what it is. I knew when I left the family business, which I left 9 years ago, I knew my limiting beliefs were, I'm not good enough, and I don't know if I can do it alone. Right away. My father asked me, he said, Yigal, how are you going to make money if you're not in the family business? I said, other people make money, and they're not in our family. I'm sure I'll find a way. But once I knew what the limiting belief was, by the way, it's consistent work. I consistently work on, I'm not good enough. I can't do this alone. And so it's in your heart and you know what it is. You're just terrified to say it. And that's part of clarity as well. It's what don't you want? What do you want? What are you thinking that's not benefiting you? And when you can put it on the table faster, you can get a faster answer into a faster action. And so for me, we all have limiting beliefs, brother. We all do. It all comes to haunt us somehow. I was watching Inside Out 2 with my daughters, and they have all of anxiety and fear and embarrassment. And it's showcasing how a 13-year-old girl starts creating all these limiting beliefs at such a young age. And we have them. But leadership is about having the courage to know that they exist, asking them to step aside and say, thank you so much for what you've done for me till now, but I'm on a mission. I don't need you at the moment.
So many things to go off of here. Let's go back to the leader that you were coaching. And the person was upfront and honest and was able to say, I don't trust my team and I don't trust myself. The first answer, I don't trust my team, is almost a very easy answer to give for almost all leaders, especially who have created a company from scratch. It's your baby. You don't want to hold the war. You don't trust anybody. You're looking at everybody, right? So that's a little bit more usual. But what about the question or the assertion that I don't trust myself? What did he mean specifically by that?
Yeah, so obviously we dove deeper into that, and there was a couple of things. One, he has a vision in his mind that he doesn't have clear, and that he's trying to give it to his team members who aren't clear on that as well. So he's, I want more, I want it bigger, I see it, I see it. I said, great, what does it look like? And he starts to explain it, and he starts to fumble on what he was saying. I said, you don't trust yourself because one, you're not clear on what you want. And two, you don't trust them because they don't know what you want. Had this aha moment. He started to tear up. We dove a little bit deeper. I said, hey, there's probably been times in your life where people didn't trust you, right? Where you failed, you didn't succeed, and that you've got that fear, subconscious fear somewhere in your mind. Is absolutely, you hit it on the dot. And we just started like peeling away the layers. And he's like, okay, I need more clarity. I have to write down what my vision is. I have to share that vision with my team, and those who are on board, then we continue working. Those who are not, either I coach them up or I coach them out. I got it. And he had this new energy, this new clarity, this new sense of self. Just because he had clarity, he had the courage to be able to do the assignment, the work of writing down what that vision is. And then he had to have that commitment and consistency to now share it with his team.
Yeah, going back to the clarity that you mentioned at the very beginning. What about the limiting belief that you had, which is that I can't do it alone? A lot of people don't even realize that they can't do it alone. It's almost always opposite for everybody. They think, I can do it alone. I'm just doing it by myself. I don't need anybody's help. So you were on the opposite end with at least the realization that I can't do it alone. What steps did you take to go get over or get traction with that?
So let's start where that came from first, right? That way people can do this exercise. So I grew up being a musician and being in a band. And I had a band. It was 5 of us, and we sang, went on tour with No Doubt, Weezer, some really big bands. And so I was always in a band. From there, I went into business with my brother. And so I was always in business with my brother. My father was our mentor. He was in the same industry. We would always work together, family. It was always together. And when I left, I felt like I was all alone. And so that's where that limiting belief came in. The second I realized I wasn't alone in the support system, I still had my brother, still had my father, still had my friends, still had my band in a sense, right? It was just some days sitting here staring at the computer. That's when I was alone, is when I had traction. When I dissected and was clear on what's making me feel alone, I was like, hey, no worries. More podcasts, more meetups, more lunches with friends, more dinners with other couples. Let's get out of this feeling of being alone so we can get the work done. Because when I was at my office at the different businesses, I was still sitting at my computer doing the work alone. I just could get up and go to my brother's office. Hey, man, you want to go to lunch? Cool. Yeah, let's talk about this. All right. And let's move on. So I'm not alone, essentially. I was just alone in doing the typing on my computer of the work. And that's what gave me the traction to be like, I can call my wife anytime, friends, family. What are you doing? How are you? FaceTime. And I'm not alone. And I know that now.
That is so valuable, especially in today's world when people are working from home, they're starting a business and they're working on it on their own. It's such a lonely journey. But like you put it out there, a lot of that is just circumstances, and we're in control of controlling the outcome of some of those circumstances. I really love that. I really love that.
I think that, if I may, Mark, a lot of people make themselves more lonely because it's more comfortable, because that's what they're used to. So if you're working at home, if you've got a business where you might have aides or team members across the ocean, across the nation, whatever that is, jump on a call, go to a breakfast, go to a lunch. Don't just sit there by yourself. Reach out and connect with people. We're still humans. And one of the biggest pandemics of the pandemic was loneliness. And we've carried that over till today.
You have such a straightforward way talking and explaining and leading, basically a no BS approach, right? But you're also working with a lot of leaders who might come to the table with a little bit of ego, right? A little bit of, I know what I know and this is how it is, and I know it's not going to work and it doesn't matter what you say. How do you approach them to be able to, for them to be receptive?
So I'm in the people business. That's what I'm in. And when I talk with leaders, entrepreneurs, I say, you're in the cleaning business, you're in the plumbing business, you're in the tech business. That's the business that you're in. You haven't sat there and studied people. And when you do, everything changes because most businesses are people businesses. Unless you actually sit by yourself, you have 0 employees, 0 team members, and you're doing the work, then that's a different ballgame. But if you're in any business that has people that you depend on, that you delegate to, you're in the people business. And you have to learn how to lead those people to their peak performance. We talk about, the first question was, what do you believe peak performance is? If I can be of peak performance and then get somebody else into peak performance, that's another definition of leadership. And so my goal is to say, listen, you're great at what you do. I'm not going to show you how to build more widgets or build better software, or that's just not my goal. I'm going to teach you how to be a better people person. And what that's going to cause is more profit, more peace, and more time.
You have your own framework, right? You use your own Leader Adato framework that you're using business owners and teams to be able to transform them. To tell us a little bit about this framework.
So within the framework, it's like an umbrella. There's 2 types. There's internal and there's external leadership. The internal leadership, we call it unlock the leader, which is you're unlocking yourself. How do you want your clarity, your courage, your commitment, the condition of your mind and your body, and so on and so forth, your connections. The second part, once we dive deep into that, we go into unlock the team. How do you unlock your team of what I call profit producing leaders? There's servant leadership and there's different types of leadership, but in business, what we want is profit producing leaders. We want leaders who are on the same mission, on the same vision, and they're doing amazing and they're making profit. That's what we want. So we talk about how to unlock the team. And so there's different scenarios that we go over and we dive deep into. The first thing that we talk about unlock leaders, telling the truth. What are you lying about? Where are you not being honest with yourself and what's not working? I've talked to CEOs of $50 million companies like Yigal. Everything is great. Making 50 a year. We're doing amazing. Just acquired, just did, just brought on. My relationship is crap. I can't stand my wife. And I'm like, you want to get to 75 million? We got to start there, brother. Let's work on that. I don't see my kids. I don't talk to them, or I'm out of shape, whatever that is. You have to lead in all aspects of life. And by the way, I want to make something very clear. Leadership is not about perfection. I'm giving you permission. You can't be perfect. There's just no way. It's about progress. And within that progress, there's pivoting. If something doesn't work, you make a move. Sometimes we watch these videos of these Navy SEALs who are up at 4:30 and perfect workout and perfect diet and we're watching Instagram, perfect relationships and perfect vacations. Erase that. You don't need to be perfect. You just have to have the want and know that you have a responsibility to be able to motivate and inspire your team to achieve the goal. And every day, become a little bit better.
I couldn't agree with you more, especially with it's a Navy SEAL and the Instagram influencer story, because almost always they do more harm than good, because we look at them and say, we can't do that. We're a dad or a husband or this or that. And you can't wake up 4:30 in the morning and go for a run and then come and do a cold plunge and then go to the gym for an hour and then read a book for 2 hours and then meditate. And the day starts at like noon. Who's going to take my kid to school?
I love that you mentioned that, because I saw somebody the other day saying, I woke up at 3 a.m. I mean, wake up at 3? Are you kidding me? Like, my daughters wake me up at 2:30. One needs to pee. One had a bad dream. Like, I need to sleep or I'm a monster, right? And so if I copy what they're doing, I would be sleeping during this podcast. And so for me, that's not, I don't watch that stuff. I look at it. Oh, that's funny. That's great. They're trying to sell you a product. Leadership is different to everybody and how you lead is different to everybody. But there are those core frameworks that are important that we teach in Leader Adato. And that's the unlock the leader, unlock the team. And I don't tell people do a cold plunge and wake up at 4:30 and then do this. I said, no, what's going to work for you? Like right now we have the Leader Adato Academy. And my first goal is to get people to do 7,500 steps a day. Just go walk. And it's not to lose weight. It's I just want people to know how to be by themselves and integrate and talk and like meditate and ask themselves questions. That's what I first want. We got the cold plunge at the moment. You'll get there at some point, right? But right now, it's what's the first step for you to be able to improve who you are. If that's getting more sleep, do get more sleep.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Almost always the social media stories, it makes it feel like we are required to do the cold plunge and the meditation and then doing this and this in order to be successful. When you and I both know it isn't, right? There are certain things that are required. There are certain pillars of life. You talked about moving, like steps, talked about sleeping, and fundamental need for human beings, right? What are some other things that you are a big proponent of and through Leader Academy that you ask leaders to do that you truly believe in the daily impact that it has on our lives?
There's one very big rule that will encompass a lot of what we're talking about. It's a phrase I created about 7 years ago, and it's leading with baggage is misleading. Your responsibility as a leader is to get your mind, whatever that takes. It's a prayer for you, it's prayer. If it's therapy, if it's cold plunge, it's cold plunge. If it's sleeping, you have to walk in with your mind right to give the best to your team, so they give the best to your customers, so they give you the most money in your pocket. Whatever that is, leading with baggage is misleading. For me, Mark, it was 10 years of therapy. I go to therapy every Thursday, 1 p.m., mental tune-up to be able to talk with my therapist, somebody who's outside of my circle, and be able to just say what I need to say with no judgment. That's what leading without baggage is for me. So for you, it might be different. It might be a great workout. It might be a vacation. It might be sleep. It might be a CPAP machine, like whatever that is. But you have to remember, leading with baggage is misleading. Your team, your family does not deserve you being in a crappy mood or showing up in a fashion that's not leader-like.
Leading with baggage is misleading. It's so freaking powerful. I love that. Almost always we realize, okay, I have some baggage, right? And we come up with some mechanism through some introspection. Maybe I need to go to therapy. Maybe I need to do a cold plunge. Maybe I need to meditate. Okay, I'm going to do it. And you start it. It's so difficult to stick to it because some of these baggages are like hooks in your back, right? And they pull you back. Having led so many people through this, are there things that you recommend people do to be able to stay on track and not lose ground after the first couple of days?
I think the best thing is accountability. You work out and you do competitions and you probably have a coach of some sort, right? Physical coach, and you're accountable to this person. When I did 75 Hard, I had a group of friends. We were 12 people in the chat on WhatsApp. Did you do it? Why not? What's going on? What's happening? In the academy, we're consistently holding people accountable. When I wanted to lose 35 pounds, I got a coach, right? So it's very hard to do it by yourself if you haven't done it by yourself already. Some people are self-starters. Some people are self-accountable incredibly well. But if you're not, invest. It doesn't have to be money. Find a friend. You're like, hey man, I want to go to the gym. Are you in? Yes, let's hold each other accountable. There's $1,000 on the table if we don't make it happen. $500 on the table if we don't make it happen. If I lose, you take the money. If you lose, I take the money. Whatever you want to do. You can make it gamified and have fun. But I think accountability is essential. And because it creates two things. One, it's for real. It's not just in your mind. You can give up in your mind and not admit it to anybody. You can say, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week, 1 hour a day. And the first week you go 7, second week 7, then 6, then 5. You're like, you'll tell yourself 5 is okay, 4 is okay, but 3 is okay. When you make a promise to somebody who cares about you, truly cares about you, and you hold each other accountable, that's where the magic happens. Because if they're truly your friend, coach, you'll be like, hey, Mark, what's up, man? You told me 13 reps, you did 10. What happened? And people are scared about it.
So much value, right? Especially for some reason, the technology has brought us so much closer than ever before, but we're more isolated than ever before. And on top of that, there's a culture of DIY now. We want to DIY everything ourselves. And it's impossible to be an expert in everything. So much like yourself, when I needed to lose my weight and get on a fitness journey, I hired a coach because I just knew myself. I'm going to be the guy who goes from 7 days to 5 days. But I needed somebody who's there, and I didn't want to fail that person by not showing up.
I also think that it's the self-sabotage creates it. And there are different things that will hold you back, like excuses in your mind. And when you do have accountability, there's just no excuses. Let's go. Let's make it happen together.
Self-sabotage leads right into it. Why do we do it? Why do leaders do it? What is your insight into the psychological reason why they're not doing something that is so obvious to you that they should be doing?
One of my first therapists, his name is John Boski, a very smart man. And we were talking about this in depth. And he painted a picture for me that will forever live in my mind, and I forever share it. He says, Yigal, your mind is like the Knights of the Round Table. And you have different versions of yourself. You have the emotional Yigal, the sexual Yigal, the performer Yigal, the sad Yigal, all these different knights who are ready to go to battle when you need them. But sometimes they stand up at the wrong moments. Why? Because you've allowed them to do that. I'll give you a great example. If you're about to create something big and massive, right? Your defense knight will stand up and say, Yigal, don't we sit down? Let's not do this. This is too risky. I've saved you before, right? From failure. I've saved you before from messing up. I've saved you before from looking bad. So I'm standing up for you. And what do you do as the king of the round table or the queen of the round table? You go, hey, defense knight, I think you're right. They say, okay, great. Then you go on to the next thing. The best thing to do is, again, this took therapy for me, is I can now see which knights are standing up. And I can now tell the defense knight, say, thank you so much for your service. I'm not going to listen to you this time. Can you please take a seat? It's not what I need right now. I need epic knight to stand up. Epic actions create epic results. I tell my clients that all the time as well. So I need that knight to stand up, right? The courageous knight to stand up and say, Yigal, we might fail at this, but I've got your back. We're going to make this happen. All right? I like that. Let's go. And we talk in unison. This is by the way, it sounds very weird, right? Then we talk in unison and everyone says, you know what, courageous night, this time you lead the front. Let's go. And so that's how he told me to do it. And so every time in this situation of self-sabotage, I sit there with myself and I think, who's talking? Who is talking to me? And why are they not taking a seat if this is what I truly want? And I ask myself, do I truly want this? I do. Defense night, please take a seat. Courageous night, stand up, let's go. Let's make it happen. So that's how I do it. That's what I was taught. The listeners can do that as well, just thinking to themselves, is this my fear talking to me? Is this my courage talking to me? And seeing where that's coming from.
I really that as you were describing it, I was role playing in my own head with some of the things that I self sabotage with that I'm very well aware of. And I could see that working. So I'm going to try it the next time. It's a very unique approach. I've never thought of it before, but it's good. I like it. Identification of who's in control and then understanding that why is that person in control and then who actually should be in control.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And this all happens in the mind. Like we have a committee in the mind and our thoughts create our words, create our actions. I truly believe that. Right? With the things that we think about, we create. If we keep on telling ourselves, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't do it alone, then the universe is just going to give that to you. It's, oh, okay, you're going to create that for yourself in a sense. And so it's being able to talk with the committee before they get into action. Say, wait a second, like I'm still the president of this committee. I'm still the king here. Hold up. Give me your opinion, and I'll let you know, oh, I'm going to veto it, and we're going to go along with it, but you're not in control anymore. I am.
Almost always when we're starting a business or even when we're running a business, a lot of it is the game of survival because there isn't a paycheck that's coming at the end of 2 weeks, even if you do a subpar job. You're in business, you eat, but you kill. And if you don't kill, you don't eat. That almost always means that we have to hunt for longer hours, especially in the very beginning. There's only 24 hours in a day. We hunt for longer hours. That takes time away from family. And this is almost every entrepreneur's story. And now they have built a huge, massive company, but their son doesn't talk to them anymore because dad, you weren't around when I was growing up. Or the wife and the husband have lost touch. There is no romance. There is nothing, almost sometimes getting to divorce. Someone who has experienced some aspects of this, right? Starting your own business and being really involved in it, going through COVID and realizing now we're in this room and we're not speaking the same language. What are certain things that you do now to be able to maintain that balance in between your personal life, family, and growing your business? Because you're a very motivated.
So a couple of things. The first is I believe that we don't have to work harder. We have to put more effort in. Harder is a lot more time. Effort is what we do with the time that we have, right? It's like efficiency. So as people say, oh, I have to work harder and harder, I disagree with that. We have to be more efficient and effective at what we do. And now I'll go back to a quick story. When my father, he wanted me in the family business the first time. All I can think about was how my father worked 7 days a week. And I didn't want to be like my father whatsoever. I was like, absolutely not. And then when I got married, 7 months into my marriage, my wife sat me down and she said, I didn't get married to be alone. I'm really sorry. We have a nice car, nice house, nice vacations. I am not doing this. Go figure it out. And so I had this world clash where I was taught by the men in my family, you need to work harder, more hours. This is what we do. And then my wife, my bride, 7 months, no, I want you to be more present. Go figure it out. And I had to figure it out. So the first thing that I wrote down here on my piece of paper was boundaries. And this was a lesson that we taught today to my clients was a true leadership is being able to say no. You need boundaries. You need to be able to say no, or not at the moment. Can this be done next week? I had somebody call me for a big issue and they said, hey, can I talk to you on Sunday? You have to sign an NDA. I'll pay you for your time. And I said, hey man, I'm really sorry. There's no way I can get out of not being with my family, not because they're going to get angry with me. I want to be with my family. And one thing that happened at this last conference was somebody stood up and said, hey, I appreciate you living leadership, not just teaching it. Because I'm always with my family. I love my family. Like my goal for my daughters is that when they go through puberty, they still love me. They're like, want to hate me and say, Dad, you suck. And by the way, I'm not perfect. I get in fights with my wife. My daughters say I'm the worst dad ever. That happens 100%. But I just saw from when I was growing up how very successful people can destroy their personal life and it's not worth anything. I used to sit at the window and wait for my father to come home. I didn't care if he had a Rolex on or if he drove a BMW. It doesn't matter. All I cared was that he came home and he didn't. And that's what I remember. By the way, he was a great father, provided, always supported. But as a 12, 11-year-old boy, I wanted him to come home and it hurt. And through therapy, all that type of stuff, but I remember it not because I hold a grudge, but I remember it to not do that to my daughters. I learned what to do and what not to do for my parents. And so when you're not there, there was one time where we didn't go to my daughter's like little show. We couldn't do it. Something happened. And she came home 2 years old, by the way. She had just started talking. She said, Mommy, not there. Papi, not there. They know. They're not stupid. And true leadership starts with like how you lead at home. And people see that when you come into work. And so make sure that your family is taken care of, not just financially, but emotionally and with love and with depth. And at the same time, you can work on your leadership professionally.
Tell us a little bit more about Leaderado Academy. We touched on it a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who is the ideal student for that academy? How do they find you? Or how do they get into it? And what do they get out of it?
So Leader Academy, I started very recently. I've been teaching leadership for a very long time. And in the context, I was also teaching business, marketing and strategy and customer service and metrics and all these types of things. And I've been a student of leadership for 25 years when I was the leadership development director for a youth organization. I helped them with a lot of the leadership development. After coaching 350 people, I realized that the number one ingredient to success is leadership. Leadership is a great magnifier. It magnifies sales and marketing, customer service. And so I said, you know what? We're going to dive deep here. So I started Leaderado Academy. And I have owners of businesses, I have managers of businesses who are in the people business. They have people underneath them that they need to motivate and inspire, and as well as for them, stay motivated and inspired. So it's an 8-week accelerator course that I take you through. And then we have 2 calls a month after that where we dive deeper. I don't believe you can become a great leader by going to a 2-day event or by watching an online course. I've done them all, by the way, almost all of them. And what happens is that your reality, your 40 years, your 42 years, your 37 years of who you are starts to seep back in unless you are in a community of like-minded people who want to lead. And so it's 8 weeks accelerator. We talk about leadership aspects and fundamentals. And then it's 2 calls a month after that. So you can ask questions, culture, what's going on, what's not happening, where we dive deeper and deeper into those foundational frameworks.
Who is the ideal student? Anybody that is a leader or wants to be a leader?
Really, every business owner wants to say everybody, but that's not the case. I work very well with people who are in charge of at least 5 people underneath them, who are leading 5 people. There's a very different dynamic when you have 1 or 2 or where you have 5. And my specialty is what we call customer facing leadership, which is if customers are walking in the door and you have a team and you're having to deal with the team, the customers, the whole symphony at the same time, that's my forte. Because it's different to lead behind a computer screen than it is to be able to organize and orchestrate the whole thing at the same time. Where they can find me, they can go to unlocktheleader.com. There's a free download there, as well as you can book a one-on-one call with me to see if it's a good fit. It's an application process. And then within Leaderado Academy, we just have an incredible group of leaders who are supporting each other on the leadership journey, holding you accountable and serving and learning all at the same time.
Yigal, we grew up in different countries, in different cultures, different types of families, different backgrounds. But it is uncanny the similarities that you and I have in terms of our belief systems and the way we think. Almost every single time you're saying something, I find myself nodding my head, especially even the last one where you said it's almost impossible to reprogram 37 years worth of conditioning, 40 years worth of conditioning through an online course that you just watch like a YouTube video. Because these belief systems have been put in place for a reason and they've existed for a reason. And to be able to scratch out that rust on our brain and to polish it with a different type of paint takes real work. So hats off to you for creating and providing a platform like Leaderado Academy to be able to really take leaders to the next level. Any last words for our audience?
I just want to say that leadership is a big responsibility, and you have the capability to affect so many people in a positive way. And I always say this to my clients, you can either be the person that when they think about with their head on their pillow as giving them stress or taking away their stress and giving them peace. I opt for peace. I don't want people to put their head on their pillow and think of me as the stressor. I want to be the one who gives me peace. And leadership can create that, and it can create more success. And like I said, it's the true magnifier in business and life to create all the success that you want and you deserve.
Love your personality. I love your message. I love the work you're doing. Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll talk to you soon.
I'm honored. Thank you.